Read all the stories about BYU sports no one else has heard. Go to KSLSports.com for exclusive columns by BYU insider Mitch Harper. That's KSLSports.com.
Welcome back into First and 12 here on KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry with you. Coming up at the top of the hour, it'll be BYU football with Kalani Sitake, the coach's show here on the legacy home of the Cougars. And Kalani Sitake and his BYU program are chasing the program's first ever college football playoff appearance. I mean, being undefeated, one of only 6 teams in the country, it's potentially there on the table for BYU. And Alex, Commissioner Brett Yormark in the Big 12, he's bullish on the idea of the Big 12 having multiple bids this year, but a lot of talk here in Kansas City at basketball media days centers around postseasons in college sports, whether men's basketball and football, and his views on expansion. And, you know, Commissioner Yormark is never short on giving his opinion on things, and Brett Yormark weighed in on the idea of the college football playoff, potentially having a new format with multiple bids for all the power leagues, and he was very receptive to that.
You know, we got to be thoughtful about whatever format change. You know, the 12-team format worked. Last year, it was dramatic. I mean, it was great football. You had the right teams in, and that's all I want. I want to give our schools a chance each and every year to compete at the highest levels in the college football playoff. And if we're on equal footing with our colleagues, I'm all in on that conversation.
It's interesting because, you know, the whole college football playoff discussion, Mitch, is it's a weird one because right now everybody's looking in. I know that TV money has a lot to do with all of this, basketball included, but it's weird because football is the one where it comes up the most, right? I mean, obviously these guys are going to want to carve out some money. Obviously, the players getting a piece of that pie now is now a more complicated piece of that also. But it just is a weird thing for me to be able to watch these conversations and just be centered around whether or not the TV stuff works. I'll be honest, that doesn't always work. You know what I mean? Like just saying, well, you just have to get as much stuff in here. You got to have the expansion. But I'll tell you, you do it to your detriment a little bit because your fans are the ones that matter the most. And, for example, what's it called? The one that was, you know, the NFL's the king at all this stuff, right? The NFL is king on how to make money off of television rights and all those things. They have jammed games into everything, okay? Here's the thing. Those Thursday night games are terrible, all right? Can we agree? Mm-hmm. Having 2 Monday Night Football games last night, for example, like when the Mariners are in the ALCS in Game 7 and then the freaking Seahawks were also playing on a different station, like at some point, the doubleheader Monday night games are also just shoehorning games in for the sake of saying everybody loves the NFL. The London games are garbage. The Thursday night games are garbage. Just because it's the NFL doesn't mean we're just going to totally watch. And guess what's actually suffered from it? The actual Sunday games themselves, which used to be the highlight of everyone's week, those games have turned into kind of nothing right now. And so we just shoehorn everything in there. What's the big game of the week? It's the Sunday night games usually. Those are the ones that we really, really kind of plan for because that's the one in a window that's not being taken up by everything else. Just adding a bunch of teams for the sake of adding a bunch of teams isn't necessarily the way to do it. You got to do it thoughtfully. And if you're Brett Yormark, you got to put your elbows out and make sure that you're represented well. Because I'll tell you who doesn't care about you being represented. Tony Petitti from the Big Ten. And then what's his name? The dude from
Greg
SEC.
Sankey.
Greg Sankey. Those guys don't give two you-know-whats about the Big 12. In fact, they hope that the Big 12 is irrelevant so that they can get more of their teams in there and then more of the dollars in there. So I like there to be an expanded college football playoff too. I wish that the people who had more say in it, it wasn't just the TV people and then the TV people asking the SEC and the Big Ten about their opinion on how to do it moving forward.
Brett Yormark has thoughts on playoff expansion that would include equal bids to the power leagues. He was posed that question because, remember, there was a report out there that said 24-team playoff with 4 automatic bids to the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC. This was Yormark on that idea.
I get behind a format that gave us the same amount as the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 10?
Correct.
I'd be up for that. I'd consider that. You know, I've always said you got to earn it on the field. right? And, nothing should be predetermined, come the beginning of the season. So if there was a conversation about a format that gave the 4 power conferences the same amount of AQs, I'm all ears.
What would you prefer, Alex? A 5 plus 11 that the Big 12 has kind of pushed, which would be 5 automatic bids to conference champions, so 5 different conference champions, and then 11 at-large teams for a 16-team field, or a 24 or 28-team field that includes equal automatic bids to the Power 4 conferences. To me, I'd go with the latter, because then more teams get access to the thing, and they can actually go maybe have a chance to win a title.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that you got to shoehorn into to all of that. The month of December gets wild, right? But at the same time, we're kind of here for it. I would be a fan of maybe going to an 11-game regular season and then a conference championship, and then you figure it out, because by the end of it, we're going to kind of, I don't know about sick of it, because college football is my favorite, but a 2014 playoff, so are we looking at a bye system for the first round for the first, 7, 8 teams that are in that? Then I'm okay with it. But yeah, I don't want there to just be the SEC's good, we get more bids. Because on a yearly basis, like this year, Mitch, and the NIL era has brought us more competition when you have teams like Vanderbilt showing up in the SEC and pushing back against the superpowers in the SEC. The SEC looks at it like, the conference is strong. I'm like, stop pretending like you think that Vanderbilt is just another edition of another SEC team doing well this year. Those guys haven't been good since 1947, right? Isn't that was honestly the last time that they had won gone 6-1 or beaten a top, or they were ranked in the top 10. So don't pretend like those types of teams. Those teams are getting in the conversation now because of the way that NIL is. You have to be more open to how to get these teams in. If you're going to do it, they have to be spread across all the leagues equally. And if your league is so good, by the way, SEC, then beat those quote unquote weak teams in the first rounds of the playoffs in a 2014 playoff.
Agreed, and I think that's, too, if these other leagues, the SEC and Big Ten, are so big and powerful, hey, let's start doing non-conference scheduling where you're playing someone from all these different power leagues. Play someone from the Big 12, play someone from the ACC, play someone from the SEC if you're the Big Ten, and vice versa for the SEC. So I just think we need to see, some change and some tweaks to the system, because I feel like this year is exposing a lot of the issues that plague college football when it comes to rankings and polls, because it becomes a radical change almost every single week in these rankings, because it's hard to win consistently in this sport, and we're seeing it more than ever in the transfer portal and NIL era.
Yeah, and it's going to get more complicated, and you're going to add more FBS teams every year, and then you're going to get all these people from Conference USA and the Sun Belt and go, what about us? And then everybody else from the bigger conferences will go, oh, shush, little conference is you. But at the same time, it's the same argument that you're making if you're not one of the more powerful of the Power 4 conferences. And by the way, the ACC friggin' stinks this year, right? All right, so let's take a break here. We'll come back. We've got a couple more things to jump into. How about the week ahead in Big 12 football, and much more right here on First and 12 on KSL News Radio.